The country demands bold, persistent experimentation. It is common sense to take a method and try it. If it fails, admit it, frankly, and try another. But above all, try something. FDR, the last president to lead us through a major shift in how America works as an economy at home and abroad, explaining the trial and error that can lead to triumph. Trump is now attempting to do something similar, if not on the same scale as the New Deal. And he must be credited, or should, and I do credit him with identifying the needs of the majority, the so-called middle class. I don't like that term. They need their present and future prospects. We need those given a boost through policies and leadership. And to Trump's credit, he did what Roosevelt suggested. He tried something. But now he has to follow the rest of the suggestion and admit that what he tried, let's call it the raw deal, a trade war with everyone at once, going all in on a single tactic of tariffs, didn't work, judging by every relevant metric, including the latest data showing that trade between the U.S. and China has been collapsing. Container ships from China to the U.S. down by a third. What does that mean? Ask retailers. Empty shelves coming, just like during the pandemic. And remember, this is all Trump made. The question is why and for what? Now, instead of owning that the first swing wasn't a home run, Trump is doing what he does worst, trying to convince you of something other than reality, saying that so many new deals are just ahead. And then the White House puts this out. You see this? $5.2 trillion. The haters hate, but look what he did. Sadly, just a few seconds of research that we did reveals that not only is this investment merely possible versus guaranteed, it's not going to happen anytime soon. And even if it does happen, and even if it is immediate, it is trillions less than what was invested last year. There's no question that public and private, domestic and foreign concerns are going to invest in America. The question is how much. They seem to be bragging about a decrease. But what it really is hoping you'll be overwhelmed by the number and not check to see that it's actually less. Now, I say sadly, because I am not a hater, as some White House stooge wants you to believe posting this thing and saying that. I'm no hater because I call out obvious problems. I, like you, want more and better specifically for the majority, as opposed to just the chosen few at the top. And the 1% are gaining wealth at a faster rate than the rest of us. You have to remember that. I argue they are the haters. The administration is hating on what really makes America great. The president has this idea we need to go back to the 1940s when nearly half of all jobs were in manufacturing. You see, Trump isn't wrong to see China as a malefactor that benefited from millions of American manufacturing jobs going there from here. He's right. But they are not the only reason, nor the most important reason things changed. Today, less than 10% of those old-style manufacturing jobs remain. But is that a problem or a sign of progress? Trump says problem, and trumpets a return to the Gilded Age. But remember why it was called that. Gilded, as in merely gold-plated, a time of gross inequality, even worse than now. The president seems to assume that the reason only 10% of our GDP is manufacturing today is because we have no other economic potential. But it's 10%. What is the rest of the pie? 80% of our output is services. We lead the world in providing financial services, tech services, media services, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Netflix, just to name a few. They're all service companies. And they are all American, and they are dominant, meaning the rest of the world depends on them and therefore us. It seems Trump is okay risking 80% of our output to create more of what is now only 10%. As if he doesn't understand why it shifted, or even worse, he wants you to think it shifted just because of China and needs to shift back the same way. If MAGA stands for taking us back to the Gilded Age, no thanks. And while we do have a trade deficit in manufactured goods, we have consistently had a growing trade surplus in services. And these are the industries of the future. And they are being placed at risk by what he's doing right now because it is giving opportunities to the people who are dependent on us for those to make other deals, including with China. You see what I'm saying? There is a cost to this all-in, everybody-at-once trade war. Then there is this inane clapback that the president's supporters rely on whenever you criticize the recent economic chaos that he created. Well then, what's your idea? Now, the first reason nobody jumps up to answer is because the idea that we have to have better ideas of how to get back to the early 1900s style of economic growth is ridiculous. It's a false premise. The other reason, and because, I'm a hater, I've done the work of talking to people who are part of international trade and finance and manufacturing, and I have to tell you, none of them give more than lip service to the fact that tariffs are part of the equation, but that's it, part. What's the main part? What's the biggest part? What's the rest of it? The truth? It seems to most that Trump decided to sell you an idea that our economic problems are somebody else's fault. And while that would be easier to accept and maybe even more satisfying, it is not the case. Not only are American corporations, investors, lawmakers all responsible for enabling China to take all those jobs, simply getting them back isn't a probability or even the best practical or strategic move. So, then what's your idea? Okay, not my job, but to address the criticism, I did the homework, I did the talking, here's what they want you to know. The answer is something not as sexy, not as alpha, not as aggro, not as macho, as strong-arming the rest of the world and taking back what they took from us, as if we are all victims. We are not victims. The answer is to invest. We have to prepare our public and private sector for what is obviously coming and do more of what we are already doing well and do a lot more where we are weak. Goldman Sachs estimates that by 2045, 300 million jobs could be lost to AI. It's already happening today. In finance, 90% of customers interact with AI. 15 trillion in assets are managed autonomously. 15 trillion. In manufacturing, 50% of factories are operating with minimal human intervention. The number one reason we lost manufacturing jobs is innovation, not China. Trump seems to think he can tariff and tax cut his way to some time machine of Gilded Age fool's gold, where the rich got very rich and everyone else lived in toil and despair. But the real boss move is to see where we are strong and capitalize on it with investment. And that may actually require tax increases. And increasing the taxes of who? The same people at the top who got disproportionate and, I believe, undeserved benefits from the shift that led to the change in our economic basis. And the same group that Trump seems all too ready to please, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. For America to be great again, she has to be ahead on the path to where greatness lies. Creating the artisans of the present and the future. Trade jobs all have technological components now. We need to get back to that. We got to put the arts back in being an artisan. The trades matter. They are not less than, they are more than. We need to nurture the people and prospects that position us in the services and goods that will cater to the quickly emerging new economy. We have to be addicted to STEM, not to some antiquated notion of going back to a time of coal-belching brick factories where soot-stained people toiled with a lunch pail. That may be Trump's vision, but it won't make anything great for anyone else anytime soon. So, today, Time magazine publishes an exclusive interview called Inside Trump's First 100 Days. In the interview, he's quoted as saying things like, the promise to end the war in Ukraine was said in jest. Remember I made this argument to you last night? Right? That he's already cut 200 trade deals with countries around the world. Okay, great. What are they? Wouldn't they have made them without these tariffs? And he'd throw cold water on running for a third term by saying he doesn't believe in loopholes. So why did he just put out a Trump 2028 hat? I don't get it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.